Hey everybody, welcome to episode, what is this, 112. I always say that every day. What episode is this? I have to think every time for a second. Sometimes I gotta look it up. Today, I'm going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, specifically 5th edition and the newest version of Dungeons and Dragons right now. Kind of got me thinking. I was making my last video about Dungeons and Dragons, and it also kind of made me, well, I also had to pull out some of my books here because I've been working on a project, and I needed some reference from the D&D books. Specifically, what I was working on was it's not really a parody of, but it incorporates some of the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff that's out right now into it. And there was some stuff in there that, of course, it's all based on Dungeons and Dragons. Baldur's Gate is, which I don't know if you know what Baldur's Gate is. Baldur's Gate's a video game. It's an RPG. It's not really an MMORPG, I don't think. It's an RPG, a computer game. They had Baldur's Gate 1 back in like the late 90s. It was late 90s, like 99, maybe 98. And then they had Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale. I think Neverwinter Nights, or maybe Neverwinter Nights was their MMORPG, which is a mass multiplayer online. I can't remember role-playing game, essentially, a computer role-playing game. And I can't keep up with all of these abbreviations and whatnot. But anyways, I had to pull out some of that stuff for that. And Baldur's Gate. Yeah, Baldur's Gate. It's a computer game. You can get it on Steam. I think you can get it. Buy it in the store. I don't know who buys your stuff in the store anymore. Kind of what I was talking about that last video. Yeah, so here's the weird thing is I have not yet been able to play Baldur's Gate 3 because it's not on sale. It's too expensive. I'm not going to pay $60 for the game. I'm going to wait for Steam to drop it on sale, and so far it hasn't dropped it on sale because I got it sitting in my let me know if it goes on sale box on Steam, and it hasn't yet. So I have not yet been able to actually play the game. I've done a lot of research on the game. I've looked at the art book, which is really nice. I said I had to gear up for kind of this project this comic I was working on, and I needed some to kind of get some. I know a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't know every detail, so I had to get some details and stuff on things. But I figured, hey, since I'm on that subject, and I kind of mentioned it about going to play Dungeons and Dragons, which I still don't really have any plans on going down to do that at the moment. Maybe. Here's the other thing is I've also been keeping up with this whole DnD Beyond and this whole all of the controversy that D&D seems to be going through, and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. Again, all this stuff intertwines into everything that I pretty much like. I love action figures. Hasbro is one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, manufacturer of action figures. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I like role-playing games. Hasbro happens to have the license to owns Wizards of the Coast, which Wizards of the Coast bought the rights from TSR, which TSR used to do Dungeons and Dragons. You see where I'm going with this. So, like I said, everything kind of interplays with itself. What I want to specifically talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and here I'll show you. I just pulled it out. I bought that the box set for the 3 core books, and what you do with a core set, or what core books are. Like I said, if you're watching this, you probably already know it, and you're watching it for Dungeons and Dragons. Most likely, you know what Dungeons and Dragons is. And obviously, I've talked about 1st edition in some of my older videos, about stuff from way in the past, and I mean way in the past. Well, I guess it's about as in the past as all the other stuff I'm doing. I don't know why I'm unfolding this, but I'll tell you what this is in just a sec. You probably know. But, so you get a player's handbook. Obviously, if you're a player, you would play. I don't want to make this a how to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm just saying is you got the player's handbook for the players. You got the monster manual, which is a manual of monsters. And you've got the Dungeon Master's Guide for the Dungeon Master. Now, I don't normally ever I don't like to be the dungeon master. I like to be the player when I play. I'd rather somebody else do all the work, and I just want to sit there and play. I don't really want to, you know. And the thing is, even if I like complain about someone's adventure, somebody's campaign, like, oh, this is boring, or I would do things differently. I guess at the end of the day, I wouldn't do things differently because I don't really want to be the dungeon master. I don't want to. It's not that it's not that I don't want to put in the time to create the adventure. I just don't want to. I just don't want to be the center of attention, and I don't like to be the like the final arbiter. And I don't. I just get kind of nervous and kind of weird, and I'd rather just fade back and be one of the players. So I guess I'm talking about my Dungeons and Dragons experiences too. So, but here's my thing. I know these are going to be. I don't know if these are going to be necessarily obsolete because they said that the new Dungeons and Dragons, which effectively, if they're going to keep the same core system of, this is 5th edition. So by the way, this is 5th edition. It's been out for about 10, 12 years or so, I think. I think 2012 or 11. I can't remember when I should say. But it'll probably get all of the copyright. No, hopefully not. When's the copyright on this book? Why would it tell me the cut? Why would it give me information that I possibly want? Seeing that this is a book of getting information from. It's a guide of information, but for some reason, the year this edition came out is apparently not. Oh, sorry, 2014. It says right here in big bold letters. I'm looking right at it. First printing, August 2014. This is the 10th printing. This is a 2018 copy. So 2014. So it's been almost 10 years since D&D 5th edition's been out. And but again, so supposedly they're going to make a new version of it, and the new version is supposed to be they're going to really focus on the DnD Beyond website, and they're pretty much in to some, all intents and purposes, they're making it a computer game, an online game. They're kind of doing away with, I guess, book sales are down for their books. I mean, these books are $50 a piece. They're pricey. I didn't pay that for it. I bought the whole box set, which, yeah, again, this is a Dungeon Master screen. Comes with the Dungeon Master screen, too, in the box, a slipcase. They're a little bit schnazzier versions of the books, although I got a nick here from something hit it. It's taking a hit point of damage, no pun intended. Anyways, I got them for, it was 90 or 79 or 89, one of the two. Regardless, about $30 a book. And I guess if you want to consider this a freebie, it's a freebie. Kind of weird texture to it. Anyways, they all have this weird kind of creepy texture to it. But that's what I paid for them, and that's. If you look on like Amazon, most of the time the $50 books you can get for about $20, $30, $35 a piece ish. About the price of an action figure. I mean, I guess that guy was $35, right? For one action figure. Great action figure, but $35, right? You can buy a book. I swear to God, $20 bills, or sorry, $100 bills anymore are like $20 bills. That's about, if you look at inflation, that's about it. It just seems like, back in the day is ambiguous time frame that I keep talking about. Back in the day, it's essentially the 80s and into the 90s. Like I said, you could get a player's handbook for $8, 10 maybe. You bought it like, I don't know what it lists for. I think it lists for $9.99. I think you get it for like $8 at a hobby shop. Get an action figure, maybe not that fancy of an action figure, but let's just say that fancy of an action figure, $5 or $6, right? So they all kind of are close in proximity. But again, that $5 or $6 now is $35. It's just, $30. It's just, oh my goodness. This inflation stuff is killing me. I mean, I guess obviously the whole thing with I mean, I kind of create my own income or my own wage, and but it's also dictated on what people are willing to pay. So I really can't get crazy and say, oh, I demand all this money for my time, for my services, if nobody's willing to pay that. So I have to kind of keep it within the ballpark of what the going rate is. Maybe I was, every year I say I'm probably going to, increase my prices a little bit. And actually, between last year and this year, I did increase my prices a little bit for my rates. But by and large, I don't really want to make a huge jump this year, because I know right now is the worst time to make that kind of jump, because I keep reading online, I might have talked about this in the last videos, don't buy anything for 18 months, don't invest in anything for 18 months. And so if they're telling me to do that, then probably the people who are, I don't want to talk about D&D, but the people who are, hiring me, they probably want to cut back a little bit, and they have. Trust me, they have. That's why kind of I'm in this financial situation that I'm in. Again, I got hit with something that I knew was coming, but it hit hard, or it's hitting hard now that it's here, and at the same time also fighting off, this inflation, and fighting off, my, these ups and downs in my business, which is, like anybody's a business owner or a freelancer or whatever, when it rains it pours. So, you're always kind of riding this wave of ups and downs. But unfortunately, right now is a down. Right now, when I get hit, with something else. So again, that's why I haven't bought any new things to show off lately, because I can't afford to do that at the moment. But anyways, back to Dungeons and Dragons. So, regardless, if I want to play a video game, or if I want to play a primarily online version of the game, I'm just gonna play Baldur's Gate, or something like Baldur's Gate. If I want to play, and if I want to play with other people, I think you can play with other people on that too. But even if I did want to play with other people, and I didn't want to necessarily go to a place, and I wanted to play online, we could play on Zoom. Lots of people play on Zoom. Everybody sits in the comfort of their own house, and plays. There's the Dungeon Master. You can pull up things. You've got die rollers. You got all types of things that already exist, and you don't need a lot of it to play it. If you know the rules, or you've got copies of these books, the Dungeon Master obviously, has got to take the brunt of the punishment when it comes to knowing the rules, but they probably know the rules, and this edition's been out for almost 10 years. I'm sure they know it, and it's just so much simpler just to go online, go on Zoom, start a Zoom chat, Zoom room, and and start up a game with, that way you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to leave, you can stay, if you don't want to wear pants, you don't have to wear pants, just don't back up too far. There's ways you can do, like the table, they want to do this virtual table and stuff, and it's just like, it's kind of neat, when you look back, when you sit there and look at it, you're like, oh, that's kind of neat, virtual, you got your virtual figure, you can put a miniature, you can put on this virtual board, and the Dungeon Master can control it. Certain aspects of it are kind of cool, but again, it's just they're getting so far away from what D&D is. But at the same time, I guess that's how things are going. Things are a-changing. This stuff's been around since the 70s. And it's been in this book form, where you'd buy these tomes that you'd read through, or you'd reference to get all your information. And I guess if they're going to do it, I don't know. For one thing, I don't like about it specifically is I don't want to pay a subscription rate. Okay, so let's say they charge. So it's only like $5 a month or $3 a month. Yeah, well, you know what? If I play for a year, let's say it's $5 a month, right? So that means for a year I have to pay $60-some, $60 for the year. oh, we'll have specials and stuff. Like, oh God, I don't want to have to. I don't want to the agita. I don't want to deal with the aggravation of having to follow that frickin' mouse around, you know, or laser light around. You know, these companies seem to be, you know, waving around. It's just I want to, you know. I mean, sure, yeah. If I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons and just be a player, all I need is this, you know, and a set of dice and a miniature, or if we're going to play online, a virtual miniature, right? And a virtual set of a dice roller, right? And I guess technically, if I just had the PDF of this, I'd be fine with that too. And you know, that's all I really need. So maybe I would spend $60 worth of stuff. It's like, oh no, you know. But then the next year rolls around, right? And again, it's just like signing up for anything long term. I mean, I shouldn't say this since half of my business is a subscription, but it's pretty cut and dry and pretty simple. There's not a lot of. I'm not trying to pull a fast one on people. It's pretty much it is what it is. People who go there know what it is. They get what it is, and they can quit or they can come back. You know, whatever. It's pretty simple. But you know, again, when you've got like all your streaming services, you've got all of your, you know, let's say you're playing DnD and Beyond. You got Disney Plus. You got Netflix. You've got Amazon Prime. You're paying for maybe a platform fee on something like DeviantArt. You know, and you've got all this stuff. It's just like it's all this stuff adds up, and to keep track of it is a pain in the ass. You know, it's like, oh, did I pay for it? It's like, you know, heaven forbid you be in a situation where you don't have any money in your bank account, you know, and you get charged and you get declined, you know, which I guess isn't really a bad thing. You just get declined. I mean, it's not like bouncing a check. I don't think you pay a fee if your Disney Plus account or your D&D account tries to charge your credit card, you know, or charge your whatever you're using, and you've got no money. Either you're at your limit of your credit card or you have no money in your bank account. I don't think they charge a fee. They send you a message saying, hey, update your credit or update your payment information. We can't give you whatever said product, said service. So I guess that part of it is not so bad. Yeah, but I mean, like, a good example is, and I guess I don't have to worry about it now, but is my PlayStation Plus account. I've got a PlayStation 4 and I don't use it. My son has his own Xbox now, and he uses that primarily because that's all that his friends play. If I want to play a game like Baldur's Gate 3, I'm just going to play it on my PC here. But I've got a pretty beefy PC, and I can play stuff on Steam. I don't really play with my PlayStation 4, so when my subscription runs out, I'm going to cancel it. However, I've been trying to get on there to cancel it, and they make it so freaking hard to do because they don't want you to cancel that I just got frustrated and quit. So but the thing is, I just had to get a new credit, you know, get a new debit card because they don't have like I said, my old number was compromised and I got a new number. Well, haha, PlayStation Plus, you've got my old credit information. So when you go to try to charge me whenever you're going to charge me, which I heard is doubled now, the price, they're going to say, oh, can you update your credit information? We can't process this card. No. Bye-bye. And there we go. So there we go. There we go. Problem solved on that one. I don't even have to go on and hunt down, spend time out of my day, you know, farting around trying to figure out how to cancel the goddamn thing. Sorry, I know I'm in a cranky mood. I'm going to be in a cranky mood probably for the next bunch of videos because we're getting into Tim's cranky mood time of the year. Again, and the things that are going on are not are adding fuel to the cranky mood fire. What am I saying? I'm always in a cranky mood. I'm always angry about something. It's one of my problems in life is I'm always angry about something. Anyways, that's why I play games where you can, you know, kill monsters so you can cease to be angry. But here's one of my beefs, and this would be regardless of whether D&D goes online, D&D goes, you know, wherever, you know, if it stays in the book form, whatever, is this is I don't have any problem with the system itself. The system I could care less. The old system first edition was so complicated and so filled with so much BS. And all the different versions along the way have, for the most part, had their issues. They pretty much stamped out most of the issues. Now, some people complain about this rule, complain about that rule. I'm not a rules lawyer, and I don't really care that much about the rules. As long as they somewhat work and things seem somewhat logical, it's fine with me. But at the end of the day, this is all make-believe. We're pretty much sitting around playing make-believe, and there just happens to be a system, a coded system to kind of make things work. So I'm not really too much, I don't really care too much about the rules. I've always been a fan of you got an elf. He's not an elf magic user. Sorry, I'm using magic user. He's not an elf wizard. Not an elf mage. Then there was we gotta call them mages, and then there's wizard, and now you got sorcerer and wizard and mage. I think. All right. You got all these different classes. It just used to be you're playing an elf. You're playing a magic user. Well, what is it? A mage or a wizard or a sorcerer? It's a person who uses magic. Hence the name, magic user. I liked that. And I know first edition got totally out of control with the. I want to be a. Here's the class. Turn to the past pages of the classes. This is what a lot of people play. Maybe not that much anymore, but this is for the longest time. So let's say in second edition. Everybody's like, I want to be a barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, wizard. What? Yeah, I'm in a multi-class. I'm gonna be every class. Oh my frickin' Christ! Just pick one and play one. Oh, but I can't just be a bard. I've got to be a bard cleric. Why? Because you got some stupid character idea in your head, right? Just play a cleric or a bard. You don't have to be a cleric bard. You don't have to be a sorcerer, rogue, ranger, paladin. Just pick one of them and play. That's why they have classes. Pick a class. That's why they have races. Pick a race. So maybe you want to be a half elf. That's fine. There could be. Let's go to the races here. There could be obviously. I'm assuming all of these races can have sex with each other and produce offspring. So. I want to be a tiefling, which is like a kind of a creature with a tail and some horns. A tiefling gnome, or I want to be an elf, orc, half elf orc, whatever. Be whatever you want to be. I mean, the race thing doesn't really get me as irritated as the class thing does, because the race thing, it's like whatever. You can only be two races. You can either be an orc, banged an elf, made an elf, I guess, melf, I don't know, melf. You can't. There's no third party involved in that process, right? So there can only be one of two races, or you can be a mix of two races. Oh yeah, but my dad was a half elf, right, half human, and now that half elf ends up mating with an orc who's also an orc elf. Oh my god, does it really need to be that freaking complicated? Just pick one of the races and just be that race. If there is a half orc, half elf in here, then fine. I think orcs weren't, according to Tolkien, aren't orcs just technically corrupt elves anyways? Or those drow? You can see where I'm going with this. It becomes silly at a certain point where you're just like going, you just roll your eyes and going, oh my god, can they just keep it simple? Keep it simple, stupid, right? So there's that. The other thing about the new Dungeons and Dragons, I gotta say, and this has been this way for quite a long time, is just the feeling I get when I look at some artwork is better than other artwork. I personally like, my favorite of all the D&D artwork is the second edition, not second edition Dungeons and Dragons, but the 1983 forward version of first edition. That's when Larry Elmore, all those people I talked about, Larry Elmore, Jeff Aisley, Keith Parkinson. I loved that art. That was my favorite D&D art of all time. I do still have a love of the first edition stuff was really primitive stuff, just because it's so nostalgic for that specific time period, and you know me, Mr. Nostalgic. I gotta say, even when it came, when like third edition came out, second edition was fine. I liked most of the second edition artwork. Third edition came out, I liked it as well. It had a certain style that the one artist was doing, and that was fine. And then it got away from itself in fourth edition, and now we're at fifth edition, and I don't mind it. I mean, I like the look of the goblins. You know, I like the look of certain characters, the way they draw it works. You know, the artwork it's good in places, and some places I just find it kind of iffy. But I guess it's fine for what it is. I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you kind of, you probably know, unless you've been sleeping under a rock now, kind of what Dungeons and Dragons is all about. If you're watching my videos, you almost got positive. And even if you're a diehard Kiss fan that does nothing but listen to Kiss, you probably know what Dungeons and Dragons, and you kind of know a little bit of the basic. Like if somebody were to say a sentence, you know, Dungeons and Dragons is this, definition 1 in the dictionary. You probably know what that is. But yeah, going forward, I don't really care to buy another set of books. You know, I'm fine with these. This is the Monster Manual. You know, and I shudder what to think. I mean, Hasbro's behind this, right? Hasbro's pretty much been the numero uno, or whatever. What am I trying to say? They've been the progenitor, the harbinger. I don't know how to use a cool word, but they were they're pretty much the reason why action figures are out of this frickin' world as far as prices. So Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and obviously, and they're hurting now for money because, you know, the pandemic. The D&D got really hot in the pandemic, really hot. As it did a lot of things, record collecting, action figures, all this stuff got hot during the pandemic when people had nothing to do, a lot of time on their hands. Some were getting free money, some were not getting free money, except for the basic, you know, dole out that they gave out, whatever, the $2,000, but I didn't get any of the unemployment money. And I didn't get any of the, you know, the business, small business money. I pretty much had to go on it on my own. Something else I'm kind of bitter about. Not that I'm not bitter about not getting the money. I'm bitter about just how many people did and that I didn't. Sorry, I'm just checking my message real quick here. Yeah, a lot of things got popular. Now that people are back to work, now that kind of over, now we're on the brink, we're on the event horizon of a pretty big financial crash, according to all the people on the internet, which, you know, I guess I'm on the internet too, so you can only trust me as much as, you know, it actually happens. But I see, you know, stuff like this. Here, you know, here's the weird thing about that. When, like, the last big economic crash, you know, whenever there's a big economic turmoil, it seems like entertainment seems, and obviously during the pandemic, entertainment seems to kind of thrive because people who normally would spend oodles of money on, you know, whatever, cocaine and hookers can't buy cocaine and hookers anymore. So now they're just gonna play some Dungeons and Dragons or play a video game because it's, you know, whatever, $100 for the D&D books is a lot cheaper than, you know, cocaine and hookers. You know, so it is what it is. So, you know, maybe they do good, maybe they don't. I don't know I'm sitting on the sideline of the new Dungeons and Dragons, just kind of watching it and going, huh. And I don't know. The only reason I would buy in is if I had the, you know, had the gumption or had the interest in playing. And maybe I'll see how the rollout goes with this. I'm not doing a subscription service, so that's right off the bat, that's not going to happen. But if they're going to do new books or something, you know, people are using the books and it's still relatively the same way people are playing it as they're playing it now. I may in the future. You know, I always like to have just the books on the bookshelf, just as, you know, exactly for things like I'm using this for now. I'm not really using these to play the game right now. I'm using these for reference for a project. So I'm not going to go hog wild by every other game, you know. And the thing is, like the campaign worlds, boy, did they mismanage those campaign worlds. The Spelljammer was okay. I wasn't a big Spelljammer to begin with. I didn't play it much back when they had Spelljammer up in 2nd edition. But for me, obviously, you know, I made the video on it, which nobody watched. Is you see, I get irritated about a lot of things. Yeah, my is Dragonlance, right? And the new Dragonlance, which is just Dragonlance in name only. It was so, from what I've seen, from what I've looked through the book. You know, I've read parts of it to see what's what, and it's I find they totally dropped the ball on Dragonlance. Totally dropped the ball on Dragonlance. I think that the movie that came out was not a bad movie. I enjoyed it. I went with it with my son and his friend. I had a good time. However, there were so many other things they could have done than what they did. They could have done They could have done a really good Dragonlance movie. They could have done, which would mean they'd have to do, you know, correspond with the book. Well, they do and they don't. Again, the toy rollout, all the Dungeons and Dragons peripherals that I thought was going to be really cool. I mean, they're coming out toy. They got a movie. They got toys. They've got you know, the game. It's just like all that stuff, and all of it's just kind of. I just didn't like it. You know, like I said, the movie was okay. Are the toys cool? Not really. The movie is not very toyetic, even though there's pretty fantastical things in it. I think they should have just taken the cartoon characters. I know they made a brief cameo in the end of the movie, which was pretty crappy cameo. I mean, they did better justice for that Mitsubishi commercial than they did in the actual movie of Dungeons and Dragons. But they could have taken those original characters, and there's diverse characters. You got a black girl, you've got a black girl, and a bunch of white people. Okay, so it's not very diverse, but you got a black girl there, right? Aren't they like top of the food chain as far as the diversity food chain goes? You know, so you had cool characters that everybody liked. You know, everybody of old liked, and people of new could like them. They put out an action figure series of those. Great looking action figures, pieces of garbage, way too overpriced. It's Hasbro we're talking about here. I have no love for Hasbro. I not only don't have love for Hasbro, I have nothing but vitriol and vitriol, and I can't think of another cool fancy word to use. $10 word. I just don't like. I don't like Hasbro. They piss me off every step of the way. It seems like I mean, it's like nonstop pissing. It's like machine gun pissing you off. It's not just like one shot. Oh, hits you in the head and pisses you off. No, you're just getting riddled with pissing you off shots, right? But anyways, yeah. So I guess that's all I have to say on the Hasbro. Of course, I'll probably say more. Now the D&D again. You know, is it gonna suck? I don't know. You know, it's just like anything anymore. You know, is this movie gonna suck? Probably. Is this TV show gonna suck? Probably. Can't say for certain, but it's probably gonna suck. Is this new D&D gonna suck? Probably. Is it gonna suck if if it's a subscription based only and it's all done through, you know, electronically, digitally? Yes, it will suck. There's no probably involved there. Like I said, if that is the case, I would much rather play Baldur's Gate. However, again, with Baldur's Gate, there's only so much of the game. They'd have to make more Baldur's Gates or versions of it. And that's what I think they should just do. Video games are so much more popular than pen and paper role-playing games anyways. Why don't they just make a series of Dungeons and Dragons, you know, video games? You can put your stupid DLCs in there to get more money out of people. You know, your microtransactions. You could put in, hey, you can even, just like World of Warcraft, you can even charge a subscription service, you know, that you have to pay every month to play the game, even though you own the game. But you can't play the game that you purchased because you got to pay them more money. I think they should just go with that. I mean, I don't like that model either, but that's a little bit more digestible than the other way. And again, it's a subscription service, which I really don't want to get into. But like when I played Worlds of Warcraft, I played for like 6 months. Pretty hardcore for 6 months. Had TeamSpeak, had a bunch of people I played with out of state. Core group, came home every night. I was on the Warcraft diet where you just didn't eat because you're too busy playing Warcraft. You also saved a bunch of money in your bank account because you didn't buy anything because they didn't have microtransactions for the most part. You didn't have to pay the monthly fee to play the game, which was like $15 at the time, maybe 10 at the time, I can't remember. And I bought the game for like $50. So over the course of 6 months, I had invested into the game. Let's just say I had $300 invested in the game in 6 months. That's kind of a lot now that I think about it. Maybe it wasn't that much. But anyways, but again, that's all I was doing because it consumed like my entire time. I got home, I was working a day job at the time. I'd get home from, work, and I would just play. I'd just zone out and play, and hang out socially, just like the games, and play with people online through TeamSpeak. Now we've got Zoom, we've got Discord, Skype, But anyways, we've got all these ways to communicate with multiple people just sitting here in the comfort of my bedroom. And so do other people. And we can come together and play a game, that's a nominal fee. I look forward to that, but at the same time, I would really have to manage my time now because obviously I'm not going to play it while I'm working because most people are also working. So again, it would have to be just like it was before. I think I got home at what time did I get home when I worked that job before? I got home at 9 o'clock at night, and I'd play from I'd come home, I'd make something to eat because I have to eat something. And I'd jump on, and I'd get on by 10, and I'd probably stay on the game till 3 in the morning. So I'd play for, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 5 hours. Maybe more like 4 hours. I'd play for 4 hours every night with everybody. And so it would have to be the same thing with that. You have to find a group of people, and you have to go on a certain time, and blah, blah, blah. But you can play the game even if you're sitting around and you have nothing to do in the afternoon for an hour because you're waiting for something to happen or whatever. You can go on and play it. I mean, I'm not telling people anything you didn't know. This is how this stuff's kind of worked for the last, 20 years, since that computer stuff really got big, Obviously longer than that for Dungeons & Dragons, but yeah, so I don't know. This video, I just kind of wanted to address all of that, just kind of talk about it, and talk about Dungeons & Dragons a little bit, just because it's been on my mind a little bit through work and through mentioning it. And like I said, the books have been sitting here on my desk for the longest, for at least a week now, because I had to do some research on stuff for comic, and so they just kind of been staring at me. So it's like, okay, maybe I feel like talking about Dungeons & Dragons. I don't have anything else to talk about at the moment, so I'll talk about Dungeons & Dragons. All right, so again, I'm going to post this. This is Tuesday. I'm probably going to post this on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, right? Yeah, I'm not going to post it today. I post the Monday one right after I finished recording it. But I'm going to switch. I'm going to scale down to posting Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's kind of when I post my comics too. I post on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I kind of keep that 3-day-a-week thing going. So the YouTube thing, I think I didn't, like I said, I'm just cutting my teeth and just, on how to do YouTube stuff in general. So, how it's going to work or whatever my long-term plans are or anything, I'll figure that out. Sorry, I just brushed my teeth, so this is going to taste like crap. Yeah, it's good stuff. Anyways, yeah, so, again, the music stuff on the hand, just to follow up, I'm still teaching myself some Kiss songs on my new Les Paul copy, and I've dialed it in on my Zoom, got my sound that I like. Again, I'll probably do a follow-up to that to kind of tell you where I'm at with how I'm using that, but that's pretty much what I do. I go on Songster, I look up the songs, I sit there and I practice, the songs and try to learn new ones. And then, like I said, I deconstruct them a little bit. I don't play them exactly how Songster has them note for note. And then I look at guitar, ultimate guitar, and see what the chords are, and kind of, and I'll make it to where I can play the song. And that's what I've been doing on the music. So there's not really a lot to really go over on that right now. Again, I'm happy with the guitar, and I don't need another one at the moment. Even though I'd like to have a couple of them that I got my eye on, but I don't have any money, so that's not going to happen right now. I had my eye on some more gear, and at the end of the day, I really don't need any, because this pretty much handles everything that I need. I could do all my Kiss songs. I mean, if you look at either one of any of those guys' setups, I mean, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on in Kiss music. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much rock, a lot of power chords, a lot of heavy distortion, barely even any reverb, and no real effects for the most part. It's all because they wanted to do the stuff all live, and they're just plugging Les Pauls or Gibson guitars into Marshall amplifiers, and that's pretty much the end of the game. I mean, they did use some gain pedals and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, this will handle everything I want to do. I mean, sometimes it's cool. It's like, oh, that JCM 800 Fender head, the 20-watt Fender head. It's like, oh, that's pretty sweet. I'd like to have a real version of that. Yeah, not for how much they want for one. That ain't gonna happen. It's kind of like the Les Paul thing. That ain't gonna happen. The real Les Pauls. Again, I really think I've been using that Ibanez Tube Screamer pedal on this the most. I could go out and buy an Ibanez Tube Screamer. You can get a new one for about $100. Don't really need to get one right now. Well, I can't afford it. Again, there's other stuff. There's a Big Muff pedal. My son's got the Metal Zone. I use the Metal Zone. I downloaded the Metal Zone, put it on here, tried it. I'm not a huge fan of the Metal Zone myself. I think so far my favorite is the Ibanez Tube Screamer. I think the Big Muff pedal is a little too much muff for me. I love the sound of it. I don't get me wrong. I love the pedal. But I think for what I'm playing and how I play, it's a little too much muff. I don't need as much muff. Especially a big one, a big muff. So anyways, yeah, let me end the video here. We're at 40 minutes, so that's right around where I wanted to stop anyways. Alright, I'll catch you on the next video, and we'll talk about something else. Alright, remember, subscribe, and like, and do all that stuff. Alright, bye-bye.